I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where we break down all the goals scored in the Premier League. Using my over 20 plus years coaching experience, I give you different insight and actual real knowledge into the games of the footballs. And today we're covering Manchester City against Everton, as Manchester City prove that you can be really, really good and then absolutely terrible the next season. Quite honestly, this is a shocking result for Man City. They're at home, and it's Everton. If you're not beating Everton at home, when you're defending your Premier League title, I just don't think Man City will make it in the top four in this current form. Actually, I think it's relegation form that they're currently in. We're going to have a look. No, not too much, because there's not really that much to write home about really in this game. But I want you to have a little think about what I'm going to show you as this moves forward. Right, so you can see this is the centre back. This is the guy that's going to end up scoring the goal. And you can see that this is the space that's going to be exploited. And I'm going to try to show you the fact that this centre-back reacts about 0.5 of a second too slow. And that's enough for him not to be good enough at this level. And it is. There's also another little key thing I'm going to show you as we move forward. I'm going to try to show you the passing lane there. And this is where it comes down to shape, where you're either too close to the player with the ball and not close enough to your defender, leaving enough gap to go. So that's why you drop off just a little bit, or you pressure and he comes with you to shut down that lane. If he doesn't, then the lane is always open there for the pass, regardless of the quality. So as we step this forward, right, let's move this forward just a bit. As you can see, boom, you can see the action. He starts to go and he hasn't. You can see the difference in the gait. Gait is obviously where his feet are moving. And actually sort of making more of a running motion here. He hasn't reacted yet. Well, as I move it forward, watch for the moment he reacts. But now what I'm talking about, can you see here, this guy's body shape, he's completely out of the game. He's marking this stand just because his shape was completely wrong in the first place. He wasn't showing him in a direction. So when you're trying to show someone in a direction, what that means is you don't open up your back. All right, so that means you don't actually give them the point where they can run into the field, because you are standing there, you're only showing them down the line, or you're standing here and you're only showing them inside. So the reason he's made a mistake is because he's standing on the outside, but he's actually facing the outside as well. He still wants to be able to contest the ball if he goes on the other side. So he hasn't done anything defensively right. His shape's completely wrong. So let me clarify that just to make it a little bit simpler. If you're trying to show him down the line, you cut off the middle of the field. You take 2 steps back into the middle of the field so he can't run into where you are because you're in that space. So you're showing him down the line. He has to go down the line. If you're trying to show him into the middle of the field, you're standing. So when he does go into the middle of the field, your back is to the sideline and you're chasing him into the middle of the field so you can actually make a challenge. He hasn't done any of those. And not only that, there's the lane that they're looking to pass into. So as we move it, watch. Oh, now he starts to go. Do you see he's already got 3 extra steps on him, and now he starts to go. So the one player's at full sprint running already. Now the defender's not, so the defender can't really catch up with him in time because it's already gone past, already gone through. So all too late. So what's his options when he gets into the box to try to stop this, shot or cross or whatever he's trying to do? The only action he can do now is go to ground, and then that causes a problem for his keeper because his action of actually going to the ground, trying to win the ball, causes it to spoon up over the goalkeeper and into the back of the net box. Yeah, quite frankly, it's a bit shocking, really. And you can see that little hesitation there in the play. As soon as that player starts sprinting, he has to go. He just has to go because he's got to assume that it's Man City and they're going to play the ball and the guy's going to be onside and all those sorts of things. And even if it's not Man City, you have to assume the pass is going to be good enough to play the player onside. And yeah, he doesn't do any of that. And next thing, he's in the back of the net box and Everton are 1-0 down. I'm going to show you this miss here as well from Bernardo Silva because it's pretty shocking, really. So you're in this incident right here. The ball's coming into you. Look at how much space he's been afforded here. Now, I'm not going to start destroying how bad the defensive zone is and the fact that there's no sort of midfield coverage, really. That back here having a picnic and any of that. We're just going to focus on his strike and why it is shocking. He has all the time in the world. So when this pass gets made into him, look, he has all the time in the world to take a touch. Why? Because this player is behind him. So he can take a touch and then drive and actually just slot it past the keeper. Instead, he tries a left foot whack with kind of the outside of his foot and it doesn't even hit the target. When you're in these situations and they've created such a good opportunity to score, you have to take advantage of it. You've got time to take an extra touch. There's no defender on you. Take a touch and slot it past the keeper. He doesn't. He smashes at the ball, trying to do an outside of the foot bendy whirly thing. Doesn't work, and he looks like a complete and utter muppet. Let's move it on. classic poor Premier League defending again. So I was watching this, you get these little training sessions on when you doom scroll through Facebook of, I think it was Hibs showing their movement of on a training session, and there isn't any. It's absolutely shocking. If I find it, I'm going to do a video on it because it is so bad. These people should not be anywhere near professional football teams. And one of the problems they have is they've got squares like this, okay? So what they're doing is they've got a couple of simple squares, and they're doing stuff like this. They're calling them transition games when they're moving the ball from this square to this square to this square. Well, this team is trying to move it from this square to this square to this square, okay? And this is obviously the contested square, and they're doing things. The problem is every single one of these players like in these squares are always stood still. So what happens is when you're actually in a game situation, they end up standing still, and you can see it right here, okay? So what does that mean? So when the ball needs to be under pressure, because they've played zonal square games, which you should never, ever, ever, ever be doing at a professional level, right? You just shouldn't be. As a coach, you don't need to put those cones and say, you stand in these zones and you stand in these zones and we move. Because what happens in games is these players don't press the ball and they stand still and don't pressure the ball because they're standing in zones. So as this ball moves, look, boom, everyone is stood still. And this guy gets all the time in the world. No one's pressuring the ball because they're all stood there in their zone or in their defensive shape. No one has got the responsibility to go towards that ball and attack that ball to make sure they cannot pick out a pass or a cross. And what they've ended up doing is backing off, which is hilarious, and giving him more space to make a pass or a cross or make a decision. You're defending. You're supposed to give them less space. You're supposed to go and stand in front of the guy with the ball so then he can't just cross it. Have a word with yourselves. Be better. So when this ball actually does come across, look, do you see his attempt to attack? He jumps in and like stamps it like in front of him. Well, what are you doing? I don't think Kyle Walker's on the field, but don't worry, they're going to score a goal in the exact same position again because no one bothers to play left back for Manchester City. It's just completely and utterly unmarked. We've got, well, no one really marking anybody. 4 players stood around the ball, no one actually pressing the ball, trying to win it back. So all this Everton player's really got to do is just kick it in the net box. And he does a good job of it as well. As this comes down, Skip bounces up, takes a little bit of a touch, and then he gets... here's the other part as well. If you're telling me you've got one of the best 3 goalkeepers in the world, you want him to try to make a save from them. This is where he saves you. This is where he makes his money. This is where he keeps you in the game. It isn't just a little touch and a little spoof thump. It's too easy. It's too easy. Unmarked, 2 touches in the box, uncontested, simple goal, and off Everton go. Let's look at Haaland missing a penalty. I actually don't think it's a penalty first off, and I'll tell you why, but obviously it's given. Watch this foot. Okay? This guy, he's trying to play it, yeah, and he does end up clattering him, but he's not clattering him because he's done a bad foul or anything. Watch this foot slide on the grass so it makes this contact look like worse than it is. It's because the Man City player, his left foot, slides off into the Everton player. Watch this. Watch it slide. Do you see it sliding? So that's where the contact's made. If his foot doesn't slide, he probably doesn't make contact. And if his foot doesn't slide, he probably doesn't fall over. So the foot sliding is the real issue, not because he's falling over here. There's no contact right now. He's already on his way down. On his way down, he gets the contact. There's no contact to make his foot slide. So this isn't a penalty. But you know what? It's the Premier League. We don't actually do or know any of the rules. We just kind of go, it looks like a penalty. That'll do. But let's watch Haaland miss. Right, so I want to show you that it is a Haaland miss. It's not a save from Dinosaur Arms right here. This ball is nowhere near the corner. So if it's anywhere in this sort of zone here, we're going to draw the second sort of zone here. This is where the goalkeeper wants the ball to save penalties. If it goes above sort of about there in this sort of area, like it's absolutely impossible for him to save it up here. Anywhere there or down there, keeper's got no chance. Down here, it's perfect zone for the keeper. And what ends up happening is Haaland really scuffs it. Look, puts it perfectly for the keeper. Even little tiny dinosaur hands, Jordan Pickford doesn't have to stretch his arms out. It's a really, really simple save. But nonetheless, he makes it and City drop more points. Everton going to need that one. And I'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.